Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to the Nyeri edition of the Great Debaters Contest. We are tackling Matter Sustainable Development Goals. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yombok. The motion today is the lack of investment in teachers is the greatest barrier to achieving universal primary and secondary education. We have Chinga boys versus Graceland girls. Mariam, who will take this debate?
It's a classic battle of the sexes, Austin. No way to know. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Lack of investment in teachers is the greatest barrier to achieving universal primary and secondary education. SGD number 4, quality education. The second goal of UN Millennium Development is to achieve universal primary education. And that is why our neighbor Tanzania decided to provide incentives to study teaching as a profession. Tanzania Ministry of Education provided grants to students entering university to study teaching. UNESCO report 2013 reports the need for 6.8 million teachers by 2015 for the right to primary education to be achieved. The teaching workforce includes replacement and addition of teachers. Africa has a reality of low teachers students. World Bank reports that the student to teacher ratio in Africa is 1:80. Ann Duncan, the former Secretary of Education Affairs in USA, stated, investment in teachers is the best path to educational success. That is why Uganda, another neighbor of ours, together with Angola, have decided to utilize on their job training for teachers with positive results. In Uganda, 14,000 secondary school teachers participated in 1994 to 1999 in the job training. Incentives are required to deploy teachers to districts according to the need and encourage teachers to relocate. For example, the Ministry of Education is trying to improve housing facilities for the teachers in the rural areas so that the teachers can be encouraged to move from the urban centers, the urban areas, and move to the rural areas and encourage education among the students in the rural areas. A key concern among teachers is finance. Teaching profession is paid quite low compared to other professions. For example, in Kenya, the lowest paid doctor might be paid higher than an average teacher in Kenya. In South Africa, an average teacher receives a salary of 19,535 South African rands, while in contrast to the average 28,235 South African rands granted to average jobs in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Graceland, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
Lack of investment in teachers is the greatest barrier to achieving universal primary and secondary education. I honor the House for this opportunity to oppose this motion. Let's define some few terms. Investment is the act of dedicating time and effort towards a particular task so as to make it successful. And universal primary and secondary education is education that is of good quality. Now, we are not saying that we shouldn't invest in teachers, but what we are saying is that probably there are other sectors that should be invested in, sectors that will help us achieve universal primary and secondary education. We are in the 21st century, but we still have communities and people who don't believe in educating the girl child. We have communities like the Turkana, like the Maasai, who still now believe that girls should not be taken to school. By the age of 14, a girl is already groomed for marriage. So these parents opt to keep their children at home so as to teach them how to become ready to be wives. We also have the boy child. Shockingly enough, even the boy child is being neglected. Let's look at the raiding communities like the Pokot, who opt not to take their children, their boy children, to school so as to have them at home and train them as warriors to go and raid in communities. You want us to invest in teachers, but what if we first invest more on getting children to go to school? How about we invest more on teaching these communities that the value of education? We teach them why they should take their children to school. We have wars. There are countries like the Afghanistans, the Pakistans, the Syrias. These countries have been at war for a very long time. In fact, a report by the 60mdefies.org says that wars in Syria prevented a whole generation from getting education. But we can't blame them. Which parent will be willing to take his or her child to school, yet you know that any moment the school could be attacked and you'll lose your child? So rather than investing more on teachers, how about we invest more on ensuring that there is security in the countries? How about we invest more in curbing the wars in the countries? We have immorality. In this current society, we have girls who engage in immoral behaviors, and they end up being pregnant and leaving school. So now, how about we invest more on teaching these children to the importance of upholding their moral values? I'd like to rest my case, but before I do that, I want to urge the proposers to cross over and join us and allow us to show them the way. I've been your debater, Caroline Gishuki, Graceland Girls.
Thank you. We'll hear rebuttals now, beginning with the gentleman. You have 3 minutes.
From Chinga High School, I'm Alvin Dome. First, I'd like to ask you, besides education, is there a sector that will boom up without education? There is none. And that's why in this country, in this world, we must invest in teachers. Because for education to come up, to boom up, and also other factors, other things in a country to come up, teachers must be involved, because in one way or another, education is important. And it is very, very important for a country to come up. And that's why I propose this motion, and I strongly propose it. On to my first point. When you go and look at the big countries which they have big economies, for example, China and Japan, those people, they greatly invest in their teachers. By what? Giving them a good salary. And that is the main factor that motivates a teacher to come to class early in the morning and to do his or her work with a lot of passion. With that, a teacher will be able to change a generation, which in turn will be able to change a country. On to my second point is that education is important to everyone. And this education relies on each and every one of us. Being teachers, being the persons who education is on their hands. These teachers, they need to be done on something. In Kenya, it is said that these teachers are the third paid best countries in Africa, the third best paid teachers in Africa. But if these teachers are paid best, as in the third best in Africa, let me ask you, why are strikes happening? Because their issues are not well catered for. If this is Kenya, which is the third, now what about the other countries? How will we talk about them? They are way poor and they are way worse than Kenya ourselves today. And also, a teacher is an important person. But in a country, imagine that their teachers are inadequate. Look at the ratio that was given, that in 2012, that the UNESCO, they gave a statistic back in 2013 that one teacher is equal to 80 students. Is that proportional? It's not. Because for a country to come up, at least teachers should be added. But one sits down and looks. Teachers are not well paid. Their issues are not well catered for. Then why go into that career? And with that, they lead into destruction and mass destruction of an economy of a country. And that is when there is destruction of a country, not only the economy goes down, but also the universal secondary and primary education is not catered for. And let me tell you, without education, this primary and secondary, most of our countries will go down economically, socially, and also politically. Thank you.
Ladies, we'll hear your rebuttal. You also have 3 minutes.
I do stand here today greatly opposing the motion that lack of investment in teachers is the greatest barrier in achieving universal primary and secondary education. On to my first point, I'm seeing the future. Are you looking at the future? What if we invest in teachers? Correct. They have good salaries, good housing, but when they go to class, they lack students. Who will they teach if there are no students in class? Yes, you have invested in them, but is that the best way to achieve universal education? Children, it's statistically proven that 20% of children from poorest backgrounds are 4 times less likely to attend school. What if we invest in the children themselves? Children from poor backgrounds. What if we educate them? Are you looking at the future? All those doctors, all those engineers who are staying home right now because they don't have school fees. Because the government does not want to look at their future. They just want to stay there because they can't do anything about it. But what if we invest in them? Are you looking at that future of doctors, engineers everywhere? And what about the handicapped children? It was not long ago, in 2007, when a child was found locked in their room, a handicapped child, because the mother never wanted to take him to school. But what if the government gave measures on how to educate handicapped children? Handicap is not inability, disability. They will be the future generation. They will be the doctors of the future generation if we give them that opportunity. But if we lock them in the room, and yes, the teachers are well paid, the teachers are well compensated, but the children are not. Who will they teach? I ask the question. Will they teach the empty lockers? I ask the question. And what about the facilities? Most children in Turkana are now reading in stones, sitting on stones. And we still want to achieve universal education when our children, our own children, are sitting in stones and writing on their hands. Which notes will they revise if it's only writing in their hands? How many times do we wash our hands at a time? Look at the greater future, my dear ones. Look at the greater future. I'm your debater, Kagambi Ibu.
Thank you very much to the audience. The proposers have been asked if salary increments are the only way to encourage and incentivize teachers, and the opposition have been told to give us other ways of improving universal education in both primary and secondary if it's not through teachers. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Well, I've been asked a question, and the question was, is giving better salaries to our teachers the only way to motivate them? And I say that that is not what we said. It was said that the way to motivate our teachers is by giving them, one of the ways is by giving them better pays. And another one is by providing better housing and giving them better working facilities. The key concern of teachers is finance. And by finance, I mean teachers and even most people in the country are working to earn a living. And that is why teachers choose to be teachers. But just to mention, not all teachers choose to be teachers just to earn a living. But by investing in teachers, we mean salaries, giving them better houses and habitat. Speaking of salaries, we have experienced the rampant strikes of teachers in this country. And as this occurs, we know that us, as students, we are the ones who suffer most. Look, when teachers strike, we are the ones who are told to go home. And that time is wasted. We do not learn. And now, we need to work together. We need to stand strong and look forward and stand together and say that we need to invest better in our teachers. The English said that knowledge is power. And again, one of the greatest men in this Africa, our continent, said, that is Nelson Madiba Mandela, said that knowledge is the greatest power that a man can ever have. And if we do not impart this knowledge to our students, if we do not educate our students, then we become powerless. And besides the latter, we find that in the Bible, just to mention, it is written in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 4, that my people suffer because of lack of knowledge. Well, we do not want to suffer. So we need to encourage, we need to stand in solidarity and say that we need to invest better. They have said, that is my opposers, have said that other sectors can be used to educate the people, can be used to educate the citizens, the youth. But the question is, which are these other sectors? Investing in many children, I don't know what they said about that. I can't remember, they did not explain. And so, let us stand together and say, this time we will sing, solidarity forever, and the union makes us strong. Just to pay attention on investing in our teachers. Thank you.
Okay, ladies, we'll hear your response to the audience. You have 3 minutes.
The question was, if not investing in teachers, what are other ways of achieving universal primary and secondary education? Well, other ways. There is investment in the children, as has been said. There is the decrease in the amount of money that is supposed to be paid by the high schools. Primary schools, children are the ones who do not pay fees, as was gazetted by our former CS. But right now, most of those who are not going to schools are actually those in high schools. And according to statistics, the primary completion rate has dropped from 76.8% to 72%. One of my fellow debaters has spoken about how we should invest in education. We do not disagree. All we are simply saying is that the lack of investment in teachers is not the greatest barrier. It is not. There are other many barriers, like the wars in Syria, like the people, like the cultures that actually do not agree with education. We have been told that the third best teachers are in Kenya. Is that not investment? If it is investment, then why not focus on all the other things that are making our education sector to fail? Giving of grants to students who are to study teaching, that is investment. There is passion in teachers, as we have been told. That is, okay, if you are a teacher and you want to become a teacher, you do not have to be invested in for you to agree to go to class. You do not have to be woken up and told to go to class to teach your students, because you know what? You love your job. You strive for your job. You do not have to be told anything for you to go to class. Just like pastors, just like doctors. Pastors, do you expect your pastor, if you don't pay your pastor, he won't come to church?
We'll hear final statements now. Proposition, you have a minute.
The opposers said that parents prefer to keep their children at home and educate them themselves. Let me ask them a question. Why does UN support so much in investing in teachers? Why doesn't it support in home learning, as you say? My principal is a very wise man. And one day, he said this at the parade. If you want the school to succeed, or a class to perform, buy a book, get a teacher, but don't give the book to the student, give it to the teacher. Why is this? Information gotten from this book will be transferred from that one person, the teacher that is, and given to more people, to a larger crowd of students. Thus, this will give better investment in teachers. My name is Michael Moreithi from Chinga Boys High School. And as my colleague said, we should have solidarity and stand together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies, you have 1 minute as well.
We are the leaders of tomorrow. And as leaders, we are expected to make appropriate decisions that focus on each and every single one of the citizens of our country, Kenya. So if we lean on one side, are we forgetting someone? Yes, we are. Are we forgetting the children? Are we forgetting every single other person, every single other child who is suffering? Why not? Why not invest in teachers? We have not discounted that teachers should be invested in. We have just said that it is not the greatest barrier. So as the leaders of tomorrow, join me in making the best decision, in that we should focus on each and every single one of you. Each and every single one who is a member of our dear country. We are, after all, patriots. Thank you.
Chinga Boys, and I want to talk about Alvin. Alvin, I thought you are a strong debater. Probably had you been the first speaker, you'd have set a stronger pace for the team. And you are also a bit convincing. So keep it up. Michael, you did not clearly substantiate your remarks at the beginning, your introduction. We needed to hear more. What do you mean by the points that you are giving? I think we say that you cannot assume that we know what you want to say. We need to hear it from you. Felix, fair presentation, but avoid the use of too much. Try to organize your words, what you want to say, so that you avoid using that expression too much.
Graceland, you know, there are many other major barriers, and I want to thank Joy for just bringing it up. That was the question I wanted to ask. When you started talking about war and other things, that was very good. So we wanted to hear more of that. Caroline, I think you just need to work more on your delivery. You're good, all right? Just practice more on your delivery so that at least you can start your team at par. For Alvin, I think Alvin and Joy, I think you complement each other in a way. I know, Alvin, you are the second speaker and Joy is the third. Both of you are the strongest in your teams. And so for that, that was very positive. And Felix and Evelyn, I would also rate you at similar levels. Why? Because Evelyn is so very passionate. You're very passionate in the way you're speaking, and that was very commendable. And I think even in the future, you'll make a great, even an excellent speaker. So both of you, I could tell, in terms of the motion and how, whether was the motion justly done, I'd say there's still room for more research that could have been done to make it better. But all the best to what you did. Excellent.
Chinga Boys High School, the judges awarded you with 65%. Please give them a round of applause. Graceland Girls High School, the judges saw it fit to award you 66%. You are our winners for the debate.
Congratulations, ladies, and of course, a good job to the gentlemen as well. Thank you to our audience here in studio for being with us and being participative, and thank you at home for watching as well. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.